Welcome everybody. We're live on all of our various streaming platforms: Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn Live, and Zoom. Please, as you join the show, let us know where you are joining us from. I am coming to you from beautiful, fragrant Soma in San Francisco, California, and our stalwart host, Dr. Satya Malik, is joining us from
San Diego, California. Hello, everybody.
Yes, and our two, count 'em, two guests for this momentous episode. We've got Vikas Reddy.
Yeah, I'm calling in from Boulder, Colorado.
Excellent, excellent. And
Bilawal Sidhu calling in from Austin, Texas.
welcome, welcome, Texas. Let's check on the chat here. We've got good. Hello, Greece. Hello, Austria. Hello, Steve from Smart Mansion Inc. in Toronto. Hello, Brazil, San Jose,
And Montreal. Dang,
San
hell yeah.
Francisco. Yeah. France, Germany, Winnipeg. Home to Chris Jericho. Austin, Texas. Hello, Wales. Let's see what else we got here on our various other platforms. I know we usually get a large contingent of folks from India checking in on LinkedIn. So hello out there, everybody, in advance. This is going to be a fun one. We're going to be talking all about the newly released Apple Vision Pro headset, which has captivated the minds of Substack bloggers everywhere. It seems to be the only people that are writing about it in newsletters. You know, it's engagement, baby. I
The AR/VR's back.
Yeah, right. I will give a quick shout. I think one of the best write-ups about this that has, and this is true of a lot of the stuff he does. Big shout out to Ed Zitron. Check out Where's Your Ed At? His newsletter, his write-up of the Apple Vision Pro is very good. He's also got a podcast about it. It's called Better Offline from Cool Zone Media. This is not paid sponsorship. I just think it's really good stuff. Before we get started, who have you all, like, have you seen any coverage that you thought was really good about this so far, out there in the audience and also to our panel? Like, I checked out the iFixit teardown, of course, just because I'm interested in the guts, you know. But other than that, has anything stood out to y'all in terms of coverage, either independent or mainstream?
That one, I think, is the iFixit teardown. There are a couple of videos there. They are really awesome to understand, you know, the engineering that has gone behind it. It is just mind-blowing how many things they got right to make this device happen. There are little videos here and there which show you, you know, how the IR dot projector is working and things like that. So nothing really stands out. And Apple has its own videos about, you know, all these little technologies. There are little videos about various technologies inside, and they are very interesting from Apple's own website where you go learn more. Those are very interesting to understand.
Yeah, Apple's always been very good at that sort of thing. It's one of their core competencies, I would say. Over on LinkedIn, we've got to say hello. Good afternoon from Barcelona. Good hello, Kuala Lumpur.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in the
I mean,
chat,
for me, it
we
was
got
mostly
people
just
dunking
seeing.
on the Mark Zuckerberg review, which
Yeah, I was going to say the Zuckerberg review.
That's a good one.
But
we're never going to pass an opportunity to make fun of Mark Zuckerberg on this show, not so long as I'm on it.
Have you seen how good Zuckerberg's video was when he defended, you know, the Quest 3?
No, I didn't see that one.
No, so he came out with a video, you know, that's the only Zuckerberg video I know which doesn't feel robotic, right?
Yeah.
And the hairstyle has improved
It
substantially.
seemed real, you're saying.
Yeah. It was like, I mean, he's pumped up. He's pumped up at the competition.
Well, yeah, I mean, you spend $1 billion on something, right? Talk about skin in the game, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because people keep comparing, you know, the side tangent, like they're like comparing that to like Bomber back in the day or whatever. But I think it's like the wrong comparison because he spotted the opportunity in this, you know, in this space, like made a pretty big bet like pretty early on. So in some ways, it's like the inverse, if anything.
He's been carrying the space, really. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I think like it's not like a totally different. Obviously, like there's certain quality level of things, but yeah, I mean, I do kind of think he's right. Like I think at least I would agree with some of his assessment that it's not like strictly better in all ways. Like anyway, we'll get into that in the webinar probably, but yeah.
I mean, hey, there are worse ways to spend $1 billion. At least he's not building bombs, right? Jeez.
That's true.
With having said that, I think it is about time to get started. Satya, you want to welcome everybody?
Yeah, welcome to OpenCV Live. I'm your host, Dr. Satya Malik, CEO of OpenCV.org. And today we have two amazing guests with us. The first guest is Bilawal Sidhu, who is a creator, engineer, and product builder. And he has done amazing work at Google prior to becoming independent. And I'll let Bilawal talk about his background in just a little bit. But also with us is Vikas Reddy, who is the founder of LightTwist, a company that enables virtual staging, virtual studios. And prior to that, he was also the founder of one of the first structured sensors, which is Occipital. And, I think it was, you guys launched with an amazing Kickstarter campaign of nearly $1.3 million. And that, set the whole spatial computing world on fire back in the day. And his amazing experience in Apple technologies. He was one of the first people to actually build a barcode scanner for the iPhone. And that too was a very successful product back in the day. Now, and finally with us is Phil Nelson, who is the Director of Content and Creative at OpenCV. Phil produces the show. If anything goes wrong, it's his fault.
That's absolutely correct. Thank you so much, Steve, for that introduction. And thank you, everybody out there, for joining us. I am your co-host with the co-most, the second banana who is second to none. I'm also your plus one and only. It's Mr. Nelson if you're nasty, but you can call me Phil. And I'm here to remind you of a few things we do on every single episode of this show. The first of which is a giveaway to you in the audience. Stay tuned. Later in the episode, I will be asking a trivia question based on our conversation here today, at about the 40-minute mark or so, if you want to tune out and come back, but don't do that. If you answer that correctly, you will get the OpenCV course of your choosing. You can go to opencv.org/university to see what courses are on offer. And hey, even if you don't win, maybe pick up a course today, invest in yourself, upskill, get a new job, make more money at your current job. Many things are possible with OpenCV University. We're also taking questions from you in the audience, and we will do our best to provide answers directly. Use the Zoom Q&A button at the bottom of the screen to ask your question at any time if you're on Zoom, or just use the chat system wherever you're watching. We are live on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Zoom. With that said, we do have a couple bits of news to do before we get started here today. Satya, I want to share my screen and we can talk a little bit about the OpenCV 5 workboard, which we debuted last week and we talked about on the newsletter here. Let me just share my screen and there we go. So OpenCV 5 workboard, this is a new thing. Tell the folks why it's interesting and important.
Well, first of all, we are kind of earlier, what used to happen is that OpenCV features, etc., people did not have a very good visibility into what features we are developing and what is the, how much we have progressed, etc. And basically all the feature requests, etc., were being, they were all pull requests, etc. And you just had to guess what we are working on. But with this board, we are able to see, public. This is a public board. We can go and see what we are currently working on and what are the features that have been completed, which are the features that are coming soon, etc. in the OpenCV 5 repository. So, I mean, this is a great board for, trying to figure out if you're building products on top of OpenCV. You can see what is coming next so that you can plan accordingly.
That's right. You want to skate to where the puck is going. And in this case, the puck is OpenCV. We've also got an OpenCV merch shop, which we just launched about a month ago. For the first time ever, you can go online and buy OpenCV stuff. I am deeply, deeply disappointed in every single one of you that does not own one of these sweet OpenCV t-shirts. But the good news is you can solve my disappointment by going here and buying one. We've got 3 different flavors the I Love OpenCV shirt. We've got English, we've got simplified Chinese, and also en español. Yo amo OpenCV. That's the one that I'm wearing right now, right here, and it is one of my favorite shirts. It's super comfortable. People occasionally recognize the logo, and I say, "Hey, are you a backer?" And if they say no, then I walk away. If they say yes, I give them a sticker, because I always, like a grandfather with Werther's Originals in his pocket, I always have OpenCV stickers in my pocket. And if you come up to me on the street with OpenCV merch, I will give you one, I promise. We've also got OpenCV is a nonprofit organization, and our software is completely open source, licensed under the very open Apache 2 license, which means you can build on it commercial products and not have to pay us anything. You just have to tell folks that some of your code came from OpenCV. During our last big Indiegogo campaign, a lot of people asked us, how can we support OpenCV off of these campaigns that you do? And so that inspired us to create this little page here, opencv.org/support. You can now do direct donations via credit card on Stripe or PayPal. If you work for a company or lead a company that uses OpenCV heavily or even a little bit, OpenCV has a membership organization plan as well. There's 3 different tiers. One is the bronze member, silver, and gold for varying levels of financial support. Or if you don't want to just give us financial support, we'll also accept donations of developer time from the highly skilled developers within your company. So please reach out to us about that. Just hello@opencv.org, or just send it to phil@opencv.org, my very public email address. You can also sponsor OpenCV on GitHub. Currently, OpenCV has 8 sponsors. Thanks so much to all of you. That's $9 a month, or $4.99 a month if you are a organization. Any other things to say about OpenCV sponsorship today, Satya?
No, actually, I mean, we are, we have gotten a few new companies in. For example, ARM is one of our gold sponsors now. And
excellent.
Big
news here on the show.
That's huge, yeah. And we are working with another company, which we may be able to announce in a couple of weeks, which is also a chip manufacturer. They are also joining on board.
Excellent. And yeah, thanks to our latest bronze members at Rerun. We've had them as guests on the show. It's one of the most popular episodes of the show for the last year, actually. They make really, really impressive visualization tools. So shout out to Moritz and all those guys.
Right.
With that said, Satya, take it away. Let's talk about the Apple Vision Pro headset. Does somebody want to hold one up and show it to us? I've never seen one in person.
Actually, I can like put it on so you can see the see my weird eyes.
Yeah, right here.
There we go.
Oh yeah.
Vikas, I thought you said you were going to put the headset on. I don't notice a difference.
Yeah. There we go.
Actually, before we dive into the Apple Vision Pro, I think it would be, because a lot of people, they are Vikas has been on our show multiple times, but Bilawal is here for the first time. So Bilawal, why don't you introduce yourself in slightly more detail and your work?
Yeah, let's meet the guests.
And then we'll go to Vikas, and then we'll start the show.
Sure. Happy to. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to talk about all things AR, VR / spatial computing. So my name is Bilawal Sidhu. As you mentioned earlier, spent a decade in tech, predominantly at Google, worked on stuff like YouTube VR, AR Core, 3D capture systems, and of course, 3D mapping inside of Google Maps, photogrammetry, neural radiance fields, and then a consumer experience based on that called Google Maps Immersive View. As well as the AR Core Geospatial API. So if you ever want to anchor stuff to the real world and do it at no cost to developers everywhere there's Street View, well, you should absolutely go check that out. I'm also a full-time creator. I love to entertain on Twitter and LinkedIn. I also like to entertain on TikTok as well, as well as YouTube. So let's say like more whimsical short-form content on BillyFX on YouTube and TikTok. Slightly more educational breakdowns of how the content's made, new papers that are in the space, particularly around visual AI. And finally, I'm a scout for Andreessen Horowitz. So if anyone in the audience is building something in the spatial computing space and are looking for pre-seed investment, please hit me up.
That's great. And you have also been covered in many top magazines, right, and publications. TED has been, even in TED Talks, etc., you have been featured. So that's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah, and welcome to the show. It's your first time here, but hopefully not the last time. You
Yeah,
have so
definitely.
much.
Also, really classing it up with the fireplace TV there. I really appreciate that.
You bet. You bet. Just don't fall asleep. This ain't a fireside
Is that
chat.
Magic
You go get
Fireplace
spicy.
4K?
Gosh, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I'm one of the top viewers for this channel. I gotta say, that's the best monetization strategy I've seen. It's just like fireplace on loop on YouTube.
The vibes are immediately on, man. It works. It works.
That's awesome. Vikas,
Yeah.
a short introduction of yourself. I mean, you've been on the show multiple times, and some people may know you, but some people
Yeah.
may not know you.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. So yeah, I've been in the spatial computing, computer vision world for a while. So first company was as you mentioned, like built a app called Red Laser with my friend Jeff Powers, which was like a small piece of computer vision in the early days. Wrapped an app around it and shipped that on the early app store. Super interesting experiences there. Like it's interesting comparing with like the amount of processing power available on the Vision Pro with like the original iPhone, where we were like hand coding vector assembly just to like compare barcodes. And then that ended up getting acquired by eBay in 2010, and then started Occipital, also with my friend Jeff. And probably the two main products there were like structure sensor, as you mentioned, where we worked on everything from we essentially built some hardware as starting as a software company that was based on partnered with PrimeSense on the core technology, using structured light essentially to pair with the iPad itself. And so somehow convinced Apple to be like, in the early days, hey, we're going to strap a laser onto the iPad. I hope that's cool, bro.
I've actually got one right here. Let me pull it out of the box.
And I should say Phil was part of that too. And then there's a couple other products that are happening in Occipital now. But
remember this guy, Vikas?
Yeah, we'll talk about the Bridge
baby.
headset maybe later. Yeah, that was an early. There's some bittersweet moments with watching
the Bridge headset.
Yeah, Quest and Apple Vision Pro, because we built some of this back in the day. But yeah, you can see the structure sensor on there. And then now working on a company called LightTwist, so where we're building a virtual video studio in the cloud. So with just an iPhone and a browser, you can have yourself, you can have co-hosts, you can essentially create a sports center or like newscast style show without all of the sort of things you need to build out a physical studio. So
or strange little comedy bits, as we've done a few times.
Yeah, exactly, as Phil's done with us too. So essentially, like working on this idea that you using a game engine for rendering the actual studio itself, and then using a combination of computer vision and some VFX to compose people essentially into that experience. So leveraging kind of a combination of both computer vision, some AI, some deep learning, we're still early days there. But if anyone's looking for if anyone has a YouTube channel or is creating videos for their company or LinkedIn and needs a studio, check us out. It's at lightTwist.com. Excited to be on the show.
I saw you just recently released a teaser video with 12-time Jeopardy champion Austin Rogers.
That's right. Yeah, my friend Austin. Yeah, he's they're early customers of ours. But yeah, they basically built a game show using LightTwist. So super pumped.
Which is, to be clear, the second game show developed using LightTwist, because mine was the first.
That's true. Actually, you're right. That's right. The OpenCV one was actually the first game show using LightTwist.
Boy, there are some tales behind the production of that one. But we sure did it. Somehow we produced a half-hour television program.
That's true.
Gosh and golly.
All right. So, welcome to the show, Vikas. Let's start by discussing, the hardware itself. Especially, I want to talk about the vision in the Apple Vision Pro. Let me just share my screen so that I can share one image. I'm actually writing this blog post, and are you able to see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So we can use this image to discuss. This is from Stanley Balin. He created this, part of the image is from Apple, but part he actually annotated all these different components, which is great. Now, let's talk about the cameras in Apple Vision Pro. Now, there are 12 cameras. There are 12 cameras in Apple Vision Pro, and this is excluding the LiDAR and the true depth sensor, right? And if you look at this picture, you will see this Apple Vision Pro is loaded with vision. There is a reason it is called a Vision Pro. The OS is called, operating system is called Vision OS, and so on and so forth, right? So it has a LiDAR, which allows you to do 3D depth estimation. It also has a true depth sensor, which also is another technique for doing 3D depth estimation. But there's slight differences between the two. We will discuss them in a little bit. We have two main cameras. These are RGB cameras. And then we also have these downward looking cameras. So the downward looking cameras are basically looking at your hands usually, but they are also, I think, used in doing SLAM, which we will also talk about in a little bit. Other than that, you have these two side cameras that are also used for tracking the device in space. In addition, you can see these IR illuminators, which help you get the, it illuminates the scene with IR light so that they can do hand tracking, etc. during, when the lighting is low. Let me go over one more picture. So if you turn the Apple Vision Pro inside, there are 4 more cameras. And you can see here, there are 2 IR cameras and there are a bunch of IR LED lights. Now, these IR cameras are used for eye tracking and also for optic ID. Optic ID is, when in 2013 or so, Apple added Touch ID for fingerprint recognition on laptops. And then later, 2017 or 2018, they added Face ID on the phone for opening the phone. And then finally, they added Optic ID, which is iris detection and iris recognition for this device. And I really love how appropriate these various technologies were for their use case, right? For you don't want on a phone your camera is readily accessible. On your laptop, you're touching the laptop with the keyboard all the time, and this one, just looking into your eyes, it is able to recognize you. So I really love how all these different technologies, which we have been working on for many years, they are all used by Apple in one way or the other for recognition. So actually, let's any one of you, Vikas or Bilawal, would you like to say a little bit? Any thoughts on the loaded, all these cameras, etc. 12 cameras and 2 depth sensors. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I think I had I remember like on Twitter, I was trying to predict how many total cameras, there would be. And I think I was like, I thought I was like overestimating it, but I was still short by like 2, I think. So it's just like, I'm somewhat surprised that they, went so overloaded on the number of sensors. And it might be, I think like likely because it was, it's intended to be this high end, like, developer / like early adopter, focused device. Cause, and they thought they could, justify like the cost of all these cameras. And of course camera costs have come down, but the other thing that's interesting to me is like, I was kind of surprised that they put both the LiDAR scanner and the true depth camera in there. And they're different modalities, like you mentioned earlier. Like the LiDAR one, if it's, I assume it's very similar. It looks almost identical to the ones that are built into the Pro versions of the iPhone. It's like a sparse, it's essentially painting. It's essentially like putting out small bits of light, doing like time of flight to get a sparse detection of distance for some certain number of points. I think it's like on the order of like 110 or something like that. And then on the iPhone, they use a sparse to dense machine learning system to then create a dense depth map, and it's constrained by those sparse points, which are very accurate. The true depth camera is like more of a structured light. It's similar to the one that's front facing, I think, on the iPhone. And so it's like there's the emitter, which I think is in this image here is on the right side, I believe. and then the camera's on the left. So it's like an IR camera with a emitter, but that's gonna, that's putting out like a full structured pattern that covers the field of view of that IR camera, and it's getting a dense depth map. And so I was kind of surprised that they did both of these, and I guess maybe they did this for the maybe partly for the facial scanning. It might be a large reason, and then maybe for the hands, but I'm actually not sure, because I doubt the field of view of those would cover the hands. So that's probably just like a more narrow FOV. So I think my hypothesis, to be interesting if somebody knows for sure, is that was there just for, or like a big reason for that was for face mapping. Because the other thing is, I'm not sure what the range is on that true depth camera, because the LiDAR can actually work out to a pretty far distance with relatively low power, because it's not putting out that much light. It's just concentrated. But the other one, it could actually take up significant energy if you're trying to actually light up the scene further away. So anyway, that's my hypothesis, is that it's more for like scanning of things nearby, maybe, but more likely for
faces.
For faces. Yeah. So anyway, some initial thoughts.
So one of the things that you can do with this, one of the things you most likely will do, is create your own avatar. And for creating the avatar, the true depth camera is used. And I think the LiDAR scanner and the true depth camera both are used for creating the 3D structure of the scene also. So they also need to know the structure around the device, in the 3D structure of the scene around the device. And there are several applications that also use this. So those kinds of things are done using, a combination of LiDAR and true depth. Bilawal, any thought on these two sensors?
I mean, to me, it feels like it's just like the fact that there's this R1 chip passing through reality at 12 milliseconds is just amazing. I've got the Quest Pro, I've got the Quest 3. Vision, or what is it called? The Vive Pro 2 as well. And I mean, nothing compares, right? Especially the downward cameras and the outward facing cameras, in terms of just comfort of using touch gestures to have your hands comfortably resting on your lap. It's amazing. The tracking performance in low light is also really, really good with these sensors. Though I will say the pass-through quality, as we were discussing before, isn't as good as everyone claimed it was. And I think this is also because most of the tech reviewers that did the review did it in studio lighting settings, where it's like they're just flooding a bunch of light in the situation. And there it's phenomenal. But I think anything that remotely resembles real world lighting conditions, like the room that I'm in, they keep cranking the ISO up and the noise is very noticeable. So yeah, like that's my initial take on it. I will also say, when it comes to the actual 3D photos and videos, I don't know if you capture that. I'm curious which of the cameras they use. I assume it's the widest baseline between the two, like sort of like regular RGB cameras that look ahead. But yeah, even there, the quality just, obviously the stereo disparity is much wider than what you get out of the iPhone 15 Pro Max or Pro. But in terms of pure image quality, it's not even close. So I think it's an amazing sensor system. But it feels like, I don't know, it wasn't as magical as everyone said it is, at least for the pass-through experience. And tracking and everything else, oh my God, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think the tracking is the thing they really had to nail, and they did.
Yeah,
absolutely nailed it. Yeah.
On the pass-through, like you said, Bilawal, I think they nailed they clearly did a ton of optimization on the latency, because the latency feels, extremely good. Like that's the part that like they really nailed. But yeah, the quality of the sensor. I am kind of surprised. Like, I wonder why they didn't reserve a little more space or cost for like nicer, better, a larger sensor essentially to get more light in, and like better lens system. But
for all we know, it was supply chain, man. The supply chain is still pretty screwed up.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be supply chain constraints. But I was surprised. Like, I'm surprised they didn't just use like the nicer camera on the iPhone 15 Pro, but for both of those. But part of it might be like latency. Like maybe there's something about is the readout super fast? Because that might be part of it. Or it might be that they are really nice sensors, but they're in a mode where, because the latency needs to be so low, they're trying to it reduces the amount of time they have to like collect light.
Oh, like
maybe.
more like machine vision sensors than
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Mm.
And actually, that might be part of it. Actually, now that I'm thinking about this, it's like, yeah, if the exposure is too long, your latency starts to go, your exposure is one of the like parts of the Gantt chart of like your latency to, motion to like you seeing it, or photon, whatever they call it.
And it could be one of the
Um,
biggest ones if you're depending on how you do it. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you crank up the exposure, you're gonna like, yeah, you start to get like, yeah, but so maybe they were hitting some kind of limits. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, overall pretty
Well,
impressed with the tracking for sure. And the
yeah, so
and the
what,
hand tracking.
one of the things that when the lighting is good, right? When you don't see the noise.
Yeah.
So I was wearing this Vision Pro and walking down the stair, and only after I reached the stair, I told myself, do you realize that you just walked down the store looking at a video of the scene, right? So when you wear
Yeah.
this thing, it is a pass-through experience. You're almost looking, you're looking at the scene through this, you're actually looking at a video of the scene, not the real scene. So when you're walking down the stair, and there's only a 12 millisecond delay, so you don't feel that you're not looking at a real stair through a glass, right?
That's why you're wearing the hat today, because you're hiding the Band-Aid that's on your forehead from when you fell down the stairs. A computer
also-
vision CEO was hospitalized in San Diego today.
But it's remarkable in that sense. And then you completely forget when you're looking at your own hands through this pass-through experience
Totally.
that this is a video of
Yeah.
the scene, right? It is not
Yeah.
your hands, but it almost feels like, it's only when the noise comes up, then you start
Yep.
feeling
That's the
that,
only
okay,
time. Yeah.
right? But it's an amazing pass-through experience, in my opinion. And the second thing is, the tracking of the device with respect to the scene, that is mind-boggling. So when
People may not know what we mean when we say tracking,
Yeah.
because all of us are well familiar with this because it's been a big part of CV for so long. But you want to
Yeah.
kind of give people the 10,000-foot view of that, Steve?
And
Yeah.
as you do that, is it cool if I project some tweets on here? I've got some tracking examples and
Yeah,
stuff like
take
Oh,
it-
that.
take
that
over.
would be
Yeah.
awesome. Why don't I
Yeah.
stop sharing the screen, and you can share the screen?
Cool. All right, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So tracking, in computer vision, tracking means many different things. When we talk about tracking of the device itself, it means, let me tell you an application, and then we can, come back to what tracking means. So when you're looking through Apple Vision Pro, right? You're wearing Apple Vision Pro, you can actually see the whole room around you, right? And in this room, you will have a bunch of icons, right? Just floating in the scene. Now, these icons, if you click on one of the icons, let's say one of the Safari, right? You're looking at the browser, then it will open up, a Safari window, which will look like, something that is floating around in the air, right? And you put these icons and the Safari window somewhere in the scene, right? In this 3D world, it is floating. You move your head or you move around, you start walking around, this thing stays stationary, right? This thing stays stationary as if, nothing happened, as if it's a physical object, right? You put a screen in there and the screen doesn't move, right? So it feels like it is a physical object that you're looking at. You can go, to the side, and you can have a perspective view as if you're looking at a TV monitor from the side. And that is because the device knows how it is positioned with respect to the scene around it, with respect to the room around it. And for doing that, they have these cameras. They have these 6 cameras that look around the scene, and they basically make sure that they are tracking the features on the room. And once you do that, there are 6 of them. You can triangulate and say exactly where the device is located, not just the position XYZ coordinate, but the rotation of the device also with respect to the scene, right? So now, once you have that information, in this video that you're getting, it is able to project the window in the right perspective, so that you feel that this window is a part of the scene, right? It is basically fixed in space that you're looking at. And that's what tracking of the device means. And they use these 6 world cameras. They call it world cameras. There are 4, there are these 2 side cameras, 2 downward cameras, 4 downward cameras, and they all are responsible for doing doing this tracking. Bilawal, do you want to explain?
Yeah.
A little bit? Yeah.
Yeah, one more thing I'd add to that is also just how seamless the onboarding is, right? Like, so if you're used to the Quest 3 or other devices like it, I see some discussions here. Like, there was no Guardian creation mode. I just put the headset on, it starts building the map. I can leave stuff everywhere. The mesh updates, so the shadows of the windows that you're casting are amazing. I love this example from Marquez Brownlee where, like basically pinned like an Apple Music window in the parking lot.
Marquez is awesome.
And then went down this like winding hallway in their like New Jersey studio, right? Like super reflective, like all like textureless surfaces, all the stuff that would be like any like monocular slam person would be like, holy crap, like this is gonna be bad. But you know, with the suite of sensors that they've got, it's still like it's rock solid. And I think that adds to the sort of suspension of disbelief that you go through. And then also the path through. I just wanted to point this one out. Satya, you alluded to this. The fact that it's not like disembodied glove hands that you typically get on the Quest. And it's like your actual hands that you're seeing in the experience, even with like the segmentation mistakes, makes it far more immersive. You feel embodied in that experience. I think that adds a ton to it through.
Plus also legs.
You know, they don't do legs.
They don't do legs. Yeah. I was surprised.
Your cup out. You know, there's all this stuff where it's just the hands. So I think maybe this is like WWDC will see that. Cause it's always annoying to me. It's like I'm looking at my monitor and then I like pick my mug up and you know I can just see my
hands like out there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Same within the environments. Yeah, I was like, oh, cool. Here's my hands, and I looked down. I'm like, oh, I guess it's just my hands, no legs.
And it's also the whole experience, right? When you're looking at this 3D video, especially the dinosaur one, the dinosaur jumps out of the screen, right? And it is right in front of your face. It almost feels like, please don't breathe heavily. You're going to splash things on my face, right?
Totally.
Smell-o-vision coming soon to Apple Vision Pro.
Tracking means that you can see that this thing is not, the screen is not moving with respect to the room, which is a very big deal. And there is one other aspect of tracking which I've not figured out how Apple does it exactly. Is for doing this tracking, not only are the cameras used, but also the IMUs, right? The inertial motion sensors that are
fusing those things.
Yeah, so they have to fuse because they provide these sensors. IMUs they provide rotation kind of information, rotation, translation, gyro information they provide, and that information is fused so as to know how the headset is with respect to the world, right?
That's a really good point. It's also like this headset works really well. Like they've got some sort of like they adjust the SLAM tracking based on the environment you're in. Like it works in an airplane. You can put it in airplane mode, right? It works in a car where usually the IMU would totally throw you off on turns and stuff like that, right?
That is the piece I've not been able to figure out exactly how they do it. And in fact, in Quest 3, Jan Loken said that, you can get everything that Apple Vision Pro has with 1/7 the cost, right? And and he said that somebody was saying that this works on an airplane, and Jan Loken said you can get all of that with at 1/7 the cost. And I had to say that tell me that you have never used Quest 3
without
or Apple Vision Pro.
Well, and I mean, for all the great stuff that Jan LeCun has done, he does have a financial interest in what he's saying being true.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Yeah, I mean, like I think the other thing that's interesting too is I think they did they're tuning on the. I would love to like get a system diagram of like their SLAM if they're doing anything like brand new like. That's groundbreaking, but I'm assuming they're also, they're running, like they have an IMU, they might have multiple, actually, I didn't look, I actually forget if I'm going to tear down 4, that makes sense. And they're probably, they're running like a predictive filter, they're basically taking in, it could be a Kalman filter or maybe even a deep learning based one nowadays, like where it's taking in all this data and then predicting, essentially before it has the camera data, predicting what the position is at the exact time it's rendering the video, because that's also key, because even if you're 100% correct with your tracking, it's like perfect, but there's latency when you're viewing it that's going to make you throw up or feel sick too. And so they've done a really good job of that. And that's definitely one of the things that I've been I was like pretty impressed by, was like that both the pass-through latency, but also the tracking latency. So as you're like moving your head around and doing stuff.
Did y'all notice
and
like the
as people-
fatigue doesn't add up, right? So, sorry about that. It's like the fatigue doesn't add up. Like that 12 milliseconds seems like, oh, whatever. Like, you know, you can use the Quest 3, but I cannot use the Quest 3 for like more than 30 minutes without some sort of fatigue building up in my head. And I just don't get that. It's the weight that I feel more about the Vision
you feel
Pro.
it in it's not your head, it's your neck.
Exactly.
Yeah, we were joking before that like if you want to like use the iPhone for like, or the Vision Pro for a long time, you need to like do the Mike Tyson like neck exercises that build like a nice bulky neck.
I'm really surprised that Apple does not have a on Apple Fitness Plus, like Apple Vision Pro exercises, right? You need to.
Dude, that would be nuts. I mean,
nerd neck,
that would
man,
be.
it's a problem.
Oh, you're saying like have a Fitness Pro class about getting yourself
Yes,
good
like
enough to, like, use the
getting
Vision Pro?
your neck in shape for the headset. Yeah.
That's not a bad idea. That's actually a good idea. Yeah, but the
yeah,
weight
with
is
regards
crazy.
to tracking, like
yeah,
the fatigue you were talking about. There's also just this sense of cognitive dissonance you can get when, if the tracking, like, you know, it'll slide sometimes on some of these systems because it's sort of adjusting, and like just those sub-millimeter movements on something, your brain hates it. Like it does not want that to be there, and it will like kind of mess with you. It maybe not make you like physically sick. It could give you a headache, etc. But it also just, it's unpleasant. It's just an unpleasant sensation.
Right.
Yeah, but the weight is one thing I'm surprised they like. I was kind of hoping they would go for something where they separated the compute potentially, or like as much weight off of the headset. Like that's one thing that I you know, at least in the short term,
they got the battery pocket thing, you know.
Yeah, like they already have the battery thing, so like why not put the compute there too, or like why not move?
I got
maybe
4 pockets, Apple.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, like you can imagine this being like a, you know, that was like one thing that I thought Magic Leap did well, like was smart about, was putting the compute outside of the headset, because then you don't have the heat management issues, you don't have like the weight. I also like don't like. I think they did it for like design reasons, obviously, or like visual quality. But
isn't it also? I mean, at that kind of, when your demands are so stringent, won't the length of the wire actually affect performance?
So
right?
latency. That's a fair point. Yeah, I mean, it could be. That is a fair point. Yeah, maybe enough of a length of wire would introduce latency in processing, but they could also put
They could have been fighting for milliseconds, Vikas.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you're also, it's not just the compute, but the memory also needs to be
true.
shared.
But
right?
if they're driving the display, I guess the way I'm thinking about it is like, you could also separate the vision processing if they're doing that through the R1 for the pass-through and stuff from the like M1 chip, or you know whatever, like the M2 rather, right? So you could separate some of that out. But yeah, it's a good point. Maybe
but you may be onto something, because like maybe the next headset, like I agree with you. It feels like Apple for this rendition went with like form over function in many ways. Like the knit strap, I can't use the knit strap. It looks great in photos, but there's no way I'm using that unless I'm like laying down on a couch and watching content. And then I still got a brick on my face, and you will get VR face, contrary to what anyone says. But I wonder, maybe the next one will be like, you know, $1,000, $1,500 cheaper, and you do need to plug in your iPhone or something like that, right? But still keep the R1 on there for the sensor streams. It's I have to ask, speaking of weirdness, right? Like they did such a good job of sort of lining up. I don't know if you've tried to just take the headset on and off to just, it is binocular vision. The field of view isn't like super wide. It's certainly not as wide as the Quest 3, but it matches reality perfectly. And so like, I didn't go down the stairs and forget I had the headset on. I took the headset off, went down the stairs.
You're smart.
Looking at my phone though, and I start doing this, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't have my headset on. Why am I like trying to do touch gestures? It's so intuitive.
My another moment when I completely forgot is, you know, I was wearing this thing and watching Netflix and making a cup of coffee, and then I do this, and it hits the Apple Vision Pro, because you forget this thing is pretty bulky, right? You cannot actually drink coffee. You have to almost drink like this.
Yeah.
Tilt your head down while drinking it.
You need a straw, I guess. Yeah.
Use a
I
straw.
believe, I believe, in going back to a little occipital history, I'm pretty sure that Dr. Dustin Freeman holds the distinction of being the first human to ever do a shot of Jepson's Malort while wearing
Wearing a
a
headset.
spatial computing headset. Yes. Shout
Yeah,
out to Doc out there if he's watching.
that's amazing.
Check
You know
out the
what?
lowercase if you're in New York City.
One thing I was pretty disappointed by, and I think I wonder if they like just weren't ready with the software really yet, is like the lack of like to me like the one application that justifies $1 trillion valuation is like, can I put on a headset and it feels like I'm hanging out with my friend or my family member or like teammate and it feels like, there's some threshold, I don't know, maybe it's 80%, 90%, right? And I'm surprised they didn't really ship with like even the movie mode. I'm like, it would be amazing if I could like, be like, hey Phil, blah, let's jump in and watch this like movie together. And I'm surprised. I mean, I'm 1,000% sure they're going to get there. But even with the avatars, it's a constrained spatial thing, right? Like to me, I was like, man, you have all this like compute and everything else. Like, I really want to be like hanging out with people in here, and I'm sure that'll happen. But
It's sort of still
yeah,
isolating, is what you're saying. It doesn't,
Oh,
it's
very,
not,
very
yeah,
isolating.
yeah.
yeah. It's like, yeah, you're still like kind of in, and all the applications that make sense right now to me are like more like, I mean, given the weight and everything else, it's like more like, okay, if I want to watch like a movie in a cool environment for a little while by myself, but it's not like I think
Social
it's too heavy for work, like long-term work. Like I was actually brainstorming about like, could I put like a little string that like takes the weight off my head and attach it to my ceiling? Like some people used to do that back in the day with
In the VR days, yeah, totally.
I was like,
Yeah,
if I
they
just have
still
like a
do.
little
Yep.
tensiony string, it might work. That would make it more comfortable. But yeah, like
Get one of
but,
those
but
fancy mic boom arms, and just
yeah.
you can lift
But
it
like
up.
lacking that, like I'm surprised they didn't, they must have, I guess with this rev, they were like, okay, the hardware's still too heavy. It's still not like quite ready, but let's get it out there so we can start the process of like kind of building a bit of like a, some network effect around like app development and stuff and excitement. Because otherwise it doesn't make sense to me. Like there's no real, I'm not convinced that there's any real like, are there any real apps where it's truly more it's actually better to be in VR for or like in the Apple Vision Pro for versus like on my desktop. There probably are some nuances there as far as like maybe if I'm trying to get a feel for like a architecture or like a CAD model or something like that. Maybe there's like those specific cases, but I was predicting they would go with this application of like, let's make a super lightweight headset that's really high quality display that plugs into your laptop, where it's basically like a monitor replacement at first. Because that would make sense to me, and where you can ship it for a pretty high price point. But yeah, I'm
'cause the
surprised that
decent monitors are still really expensive. I mean, I
Yeah,
think most people are just using their laptop screen or whatever, but I mean, a decent like work monitor, if you're doing video production or game production, like of any kind, you could spend a G just on that,
yeah.
like at the low end even.
No, Vikas, to your point though, like I feel like design got ahead of engineering and they made a decision to ship because like at 2023 WWDC, they showed all these various, interaction motifs that you could use for true co-presence. And the fact that they shipped with sort of 2D, 2.5D windows everywhere.
Yeah.
Feels like, it's like there's something they should have launched, but I couldn't agree more. It's like even the like, I don't know, I'm curious what y'all thought of the FaceTime experience. It's like kind of, like if you have good enough like internet connectivity, there's a bit of depth to it and some nice blurring of the background, but it still feels like a very enclosed windowed experience versus like, why can't I go into one of the default like Disney Plus Avengers environments and then pull y'all in and then we watch media together? So I think they just shipped without it because they've got it all here. It's just they just didn't end up shipping it out. Yeah, it's like, let me see if there's anything else interesting in here. Yeah, but they're talking about shared context, how you could have your own private windows and all this other stuff that just
Didn't ship.
They ain't there yet.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's probably it might be the right choice just to get something, especially if they realize they're like, look, the price point's not gonna be there, the weight's gonna be not good enough for a real consumer. Let's just get it out there and then get people, get early adopters playing with it, get some feedback, get some apps going, but not not count on this being like a big, a big consumer thing yet. Because I mean, they can afford to. It's kind of interesting because I wonder if would Steve Jobs have shipped this device? I think not. Doesn't mean that would be the right choice, but I don't think he would have shipped this device.
In the current
Like, it
state,
feels-
yeah.
In the current state, I think he would have waited. And it might have been the wrong choice. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows? Because like it might be more like even Apple shipping ARKit was somewhat of an interesting, like definitely a surprising decision because they didn't really have a real consumer app for it at the time.
Yeah. I'm gonna put a pause here. So we got about
Yeah.
10 minutes left on the hour, and I'm gonna do our trivia giveaway here. So
Nice.
folks out there, if you don't know, or if you just need a reminder, one of the things we do on this show is give away something free to you in the audience. So this week we are giving away the free OpenCV course of your choosing. I am going to ask one trivia question. This one is for the Apple heads out there. The first person to answer that question correctly in the Zoom chat, correctly and completely, will win the OpenCV course of their choosing. You can go to opencv.org/university to see what courses are on offer. Before I ask the question though, Satya, do you want to tell people a little bit about what OpenCV University is?
Yeah, so OpenCV University is a collection of courses in computer vision and AI, and also generative AI. And the courses are designed, most of the courses are designed to be long format, 3 to 4 months. And the idea is that you'll have a very solid understanding in traditional computer vision, as well as deep learning. And these courses are master's level courses. So you should be able to, if you do 2 of these courses, one in traditional computer vision and one in deep learning, it should prepare you, and you do all of these things, do all the projects and everything, it will prepare you for an entry-level position in computer vision and AI very easily, right? It is, the amount of computer vision I learned during my master's was nothing compared to what we have in these courses. And part of the reason is that technology has become more accessible, and there are tools available so that we can put together a lot of things very quickly. But these are substantially deep courses, which can, people who are trying to switch into computer vision and AI, or people who are students who want to have a career in computer vision and AI, this is an excellent start, in my opinion.
Absolutely, I could not agree more. And there even are a couple of free boot camp courses if you want to get your feet wet on the OpenCV University website. So I'm going to ask the question now. If you've answered in the last couple of months and won, please don't answer and let someone else get a chance to win. I think we're timing out that Partha's probably going to win this one again. We'll see. We'll see if that's true or not. So earlier in the show, we talked a little bit about when the Apple Vision Pro headset was announced. That was at the 2023 Worldwide Developer Conference at Apple Park. Now, people know worldwide, WWDC has been one of the big Apple events since the 90s. But it wasn't always at Apple Park. In fact, from 2003 to 2015, it was held at a very well-known convention center here in San Francisco, California. What was the name of that? What is the name of that place? And also,
please respond to everyone.
what was the name of that? What was the name of that place? What is the name of that place?
Yeah, so Seth actually had replied first. He had replied.
I see that, and still, yes, he still got there though. All right, yes, Seth Johnson was correct. Before the words even came out of my mouth, you can spot the old Apple heads out there. It was in fact the Moscone Center here in the Soma neighborhood of San Francisco, California. I moved here like just after they stopped doing them in SF and moved down to, I think for a while they were doing the San Jose Convention Center, and then of course moved to Apple Park where they all happen now. I had the good fortune to go to the 2018 WWDC with Occipital. In fact, me and Jeff Powers went down there. I still have the little lapel pin on my coat from that. And also, the swag bag that year was sweet. It was a Levi's trucker jacket. I wear it pretty much every day still. Yeah, it's one of my favorite garments. Thanks Apple. Thanks Occipital.
So some people who are looking at this, they may feel that Seth was the second one. But Seth is actually the first one. He had initially responded to hosts and
And
panelists.
also he also answered completely. It's Moscone
Okay.
Center, Moscone
Okay.
Center. I also would have accepted Moscone West. That would have been if you could tell if they live in San Francisco or not.
Yeah.
But yes, congratulations, Seth. Please send one email to phil@opencv.org with the course you would like. Once again, you can go to opencv.org/university to see what courses are available, and we will make sure that you get your course. Congratulations. We've got about 4 or 5 minutes left here.
Questions?
A couple people
Yeah.
asked in the chat. Yeah, a couple people asked in the chat here some questions. First of all, is this being recorded? Absolutely. Every single episode of this show, all 125 of them, including this one, if you can believe it, are available on youtube.com/@OpenCV official. We're currently in the process of backfilling some of the older episodes that are not uploaded there, but we're down into the 70s now. So everything from the last year will be on there. So that's youtube.com/OpenCV official. We've also got a bunch of questions about cameras and stuff. I want to.
Yeah.
This one actually kind of tickled my imagination. Scott Roth here in the chat asked, does anybody want to speculate on how they are calibrating these cameras and how they are keeping them calibrated? Because as anyone who's worked with multiple cameras or single cameras knows, it's really hard to calibrate stuff. So let's, Satya, you got any?
Yeah.
I'll have to pass on that. I don't have a very good sense of how hardware calibration, how they do it on these devices. So Vikas or Bilawal?
Yeah, I don't know if obviously I don't know exactly what Apple's doing. Maybe they're doing something special, but
and if you did, you probably couldn't tell us.
Yeah, it's true. I think the thing that's interesting to me is mostly the IR cameras and pairing them with the vision cameras. So for visible cameras, in fact, in OpenCV actually have a pretty nice calibration system. You can kind of check it out, but the typical sort of historic way is that there's a known ground truth target. So checkerboard, there's various different types of patterns. Caliboo is another type of pattern, but there's always various patterns, and then you're capturing. It's almost like a machine learning problem in some sorts, where you're capturing a data set of like, here's what this pattern looks like from all these different cameras, and then using that to say, okay, well now we know what the there's two properties. There's the intrinsics, which are like focal length, like lens distortion parameters, and there's extrinsics, which is how are all those cameras like relative to each other. The complexity comes in like the comparing multimodal stuff, where it's IMU. How do you calibrate the position of the IMU versus visible cameras? And then there's essentially there's a bunch of, it's hard to get into like all the details there, but there are some systems that essentially you could even use like something like a robot arm to articulate the headset through a bunch of motions at the same time as like watching the pattern. So you're recording kind of ground truth data at the same time you're getting IMU data, and then
even Vicon trackers, right? A lot of people use external Vicon trackers. I wonder if all the calibration expertise they build up for factory calibration for AR kits on the iPhone sort of moved over to this. Yeah, I don't know about Apple, but at least on Android, everything is factory calibrated, and that's like a big lift for all the OEMs to start supporting AR core. I suspect it's very similar on the Apple side.
Well, there's one issue is calibration, but there's also keeping them calibrated.
So that is the
real life is messy. Real life is messy.
So there is one of the OpenCV bronze member companies, Tangram Vision. They do exactly this, right? So I initially thought that the question was about how the calibration, how Apple keeps the calibration, not factory calibration, right? So because no matter how rigid these devices are, there would be things that will go off, right? And how do they keep the calibration for a very long period? Because they have never asked me to calibrate anything during this whole time, right? And I think whatever minor vibrations or changes could be, that is handled in software, right? So companies like Tangram Vision, they do that in the extreme. In Tangram Vision, even if you can actually shake this thing, two different cameras, and you can shake one of them, and it brings it back into calibration again in software. And I think Apple Vision Pro must be using some kind of auto calibration for that purpose as well. But there is also, I have this knowledge gap in how these various sensors are calibrated, right? So when it's a camera, then it's okay. I know how these things are done. But when you have many of these different sensors, right? How are they calibrated with respect to each other? I don't have the gaps in my knowledge there.
Yeah, the true depth sensor is an interesting one because it's like that one is there's a projected pattern, like a projected pattern of infrared light, and then there's like a typically like a reference image captured on like the production line. So they're looking at like at a known distance. So like let's say it's like 1 meter away or whatever distance, right?
Yeah.
And then so it's kind of like a virtual stereo system. So at runtime, what they're looking at is just one input, just like the single IR camera, but it's seeing like the whatever the emitter pattern is, and they compare it to the ground truth that they captured on the production line. Now that was from like 2013, Prime Sense. So maybe they've like changed since, but I suspect that same team is working on it. The LiDAR one, I have no, like I'm actually not sure. LiDAR works totally differently, so that's like time of flight. So I have no idea how that's calibrated.
I had a question for Bilawal. So what does you've been trying to import a lot of these 3D into Vision Pro. What does the process look like? Is it tedious right now? Share some experiences.
Tell us all about your splats, Bilal.
Oh man, honestly, the splat stuff hasn't. I was expecting Luma and Polycam would be like launch apps for this dang thing.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right now,
I'm very surprised that Luma was not right there. Yeah.
Yeah. And Luma's working on some sort of WebXR sort of support. They're not going to build a Vision Pro app, is what they've said. But yeah, WebXR support is broken, and that's a whole nother conversation. But the easiest way to get photogrammetry or just any kind of triangulated geometry into the Vision Pro is quite easy. It's like they've got this thing called Apple Quick Look. So if you just take a USDZ file, iMessage it to yourself, airdrop it, it'll just pop up. You can also use Reality Composer to add some lightweight interactivity to it, which comes through nicely. So yeah, I've been bringing in all my old photo scans.
I forgot all about Reality Composer. I forgot that was even a thing.
There's even a pro version now, apparently. So it's like it's been really fun to just bring in reality scans, lay them out in my backyard, and kind of walk around them. It's super magical. But I think it's going to get super fun once we get true radiance fields, whether it's splats or some other implementation in there, and can have a room scale experience. Again, super surprised that Apple Maps itself wasn't a first party launch app.
Right.
I don't know if you've used Look Around in their mobile app. There's this slight depth parallax that happens. It seemed like just a layup, but again, maybe WWDC.
Yeah. They might have rushed it seems like there's a lot of signals that they rushed. They weren't quite ready with all the software, and they're just like, ship it anyway. Get it out there.
Right.
Totally.
So one of the things that really popped for me was, I have taken so many panoramas in my life, but I never look at those panoramas again, right? So you take the panoramas, but you never look at them, right? And here, I had taken a panorama from my hotel room in Turkey. It was just breathtaking at the time. I took the panorama and I have never looked at it again because, who looks at panoramas? They just look funny. But in Apple Vision Pro, when I popped it out, it was just breathtaking. I was almost there, right?
Teleportation, baby.
Panorama.
Yeah,
totally.
I wished we had that for our trip to New Orleans last year. That could have been something.
Right. And then the other one is obviously the depth camera. You feel that you are there. In fact, the Apple Vision Pro doesn't have a good camera, as we were talking about. But if you have an iPhone 15 Pro Max, it has the ability to capture stereo vision, and that looks much better in quality than this, but it still has a limited field of view. But there is some content out there, right? There is when you have both of these things, you have panoramic view and stereo vision.
Yep.
Then it just looks it's
Yeah,
just
it's amazing.
stunning, right? I mean, that experience, nothing can beat that experience. And there are some videos. For example, there's a woman on a mountain walking on a tightrope. I don't know whether you guys have watched that video, demo video.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
about 7-10 minute video, maybe, and that it is unbelievable, right? It is so real that the person is standing right next to you. The depth feels so real that you'll fall down, right?
Yeah.
So panoramic. So when you combine these two, panorama as well as stereo, that experience, once we have a lot of content of that kind, it is it is going to be breathtaking. It is
Yeah.
exactly the same experience as what you get in Vegas, the Sphere, right?
Yeah.
The Sphere.
Well,
And
I mean,
like the Sphere, there's
except-
only 4
except-
pieces of content
Yeah.
you can watch.
Yeah.
And
Well,
also,
so
but
the-
unlike the Sphere, you are not required to watch a U2 concert. So that's
Yeah.
a big win.
That's true. I mean,
Savage.
the thing I'm excited about there is like this Gaussian, like
Fight
either,
me,
whether
Bono.
you call it like Gaussian splatting, or I mean, maybe nerfs come in or whatever, but like this idea of like actually having like a realistic 3D capture of a scene. And there's a bunch of companies like working on that, working on that now. But like to me, the dynamic part is where it's going to get really interesting. Like when we have enough combination of like a machine learning system that can even hallucinate stuff that it missed. So
Being able
if you're
to edit your
capturing-
memories is going to be
Yeah,
one of the
exactly.
most horrifically dangerous things that humanity has ever created. This is my
That's
hill
true.
that I'm standing on to die. I have seen the
Yeah.
movie Strange Days. I know how this goes.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it'll be interesting to be like, yeah, could you actually step into a memory? I think there's like a company Whisk that's working on this. Obviously, like there's Arcturus Industries is working on aspects of this, as well as Luma and others. But yeah, it's
I don't know why people
yeah.
want this. Leave the memories alone, people.
But
Dude, I
the
mean, here's why.
thing.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to hang out with I want to go and hang out with my 1.5-year-old son, because he was like, that's
Especially
that's
once
the
they
dream,
become
right?
teenagers, and
Yeah.
they start talking back.
That's true.
But yeah, it's like they leaned into this new format too, right? For all this video stuff, it's multi-view HEVC. So it's like
Yeah.
an open spec, open-ish. You have to license HEVC, et cetera. But yeah, it's kind of cool. Unlike the Quest 3, rather than having like a top, bottom, or left to right of your eyes, it's just the one eye, and then they encode the delta between the two eyes in there. And there's some cool utilities out there. I think I got a post on it.
Is that why most of the YouTube VR, for example, doesn't work, right?
Yeah, and now YouTube has since said that there's going to be an official thing coming out, because I love the Alicia Keys experience, but there's like 4 videos and there's like millions on YouTube, including my old like stereo 360 captures that I want to see. And right now they do kind of force you to go through some hoops to take advantage of it, but I don't know why they're doing that, but it's like maybe it's
in
just
fairness, one Alicia Keys video is worth 1 million regular videos. Let's give Alicia Keys her flowers here.
There you go. Yeah, and apparently the Dino video I love the most, that combined CG and they put a 180 camera on a drone, got some amazing shots. Apparently all the CG is done in Unity, which is really cool. And yeah, that whole experience, only a couple minutes, was apparently $25 million. That's a rumor, but I hear 25 million.
I mean, what they don't. Yeah, well, I mean, they had to do the Jurassic Park thing in order to capture all the footage. So like the secret. Oh wait, I'm not supposed to talk about the secret Apple Island with all the dinosaurs, am I? Shit.
So
Cook's gonna get you.
So let me be clear. I have not actually researched why the VR things are not. So in regular VR, there are 2 formats, right? I mean, most of the content that you see, left and right, you basically have 2 videos left and right, and you project it onto the 2 eyes, or they could be up and down, and they project it to the eyes. What is the Apple's format? Is it that they take the difference between the 2 and just encode the delta for efficiency?
That's exactly right. And then it's decoded, and you end up getting that same sort of side-by-side stereo experience. And then in their native player, which again, they've not opened up, which sucks because all the other developers are left with like a sphere to project a texture on, and all the other stuff to like really saturate the pixels aren't there. They do this like subtle parallax. It almost feels like a 1D light feel, where they like sort of blend between the left and right eye.
Or like a lenticular print almost.
Yeah, it feels like that, exactly. And I think that even brings the very narrow baseline sort of iPhone videos to life and makes it look more immersive than it is. And I hope they start doing more like stereo magnification and post-processing later. But right now, yeah, it's that's just encoded and then it's decoded as a regular side-by-side thing. And you can do 360, 180, monocular, stereoscopic, and all of that. Yeah.
Awesome. So, what in your opinion is the killer application? Both of you, whoever wants to go first.
Right now or in the future?
Yeah, that's the question.
Start with
actually.
one and then the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine's simple. I think right now the most used app for me is Safari. I just use Safari for everything. I've got Spotify pulled up here. All the stuff that there isn't a native app for, I end up using that a lot. A lot of Meet, a lot of Docs, all that good stuff. But I think it's going to be like co-present collaborative experiences. That's going to be the most magical thing. And I don't know what is going to be. Like, I want some version of like the liveliness of VR chat, if anyone's used that, with sort of the polish that Horizon Worlds has, even though Horizon Worlds is like sort of a dead. It's like the fluorescent Silicon Valley office version of the metaverse. I want
the dead mall version of the dead mall. Like
there you go. Yes. So I'm excited about all of that stuff, and certainly all the immersive capture as it like bleeds into that is, I think it's going to be super, super exciting, because finally you have a headset that like, just if you have high enough pixels per degree, you can't notice if this is like real or not. And that's amazing.
Yeah, Wither tilt brush in all this. I think they open sourced it a while back. I want Apple Vision Pro tilt brush, man. I love tilt brush. Shout out to Messieurs Skillman and Hackett if they're watching out there.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think, I mean, as far as now, like, and to be fair, I haven't had it for long enough. I actually was resisting buying one because it was like pretty pricey, and I was like, I don't know. And then I bought it because Satya was like, "Do you want to do a podcast on this?" Or
at least that's what you told Elaine.
That's true.
Satya forced me to do it. It is because of him. I have to buy this.
And then, but yeah, so I've had it for a couple of days. But yeah, I think like, in the short term, like, I mean, watching movies on it is pretty, like, it is actually pretty amazing. Like, it actually does like feel really, it does feel like in a theater. You can actually like, when you turn it, when it's like lights down mode in the theater, you can like legit feel like you're actually in a theater. It doesn't actually feel like you're in your home anymore. So even if I'm sitting in my office chair, so that part's pretty amazing. But yeah, I mean, I think, I agree with the level for the future. It's like that to me is like the killer app, and it's why like everyone's like, even the people like ragging on like Zuckerberg and stuff. I think he realizes this too. And if you look at some of their work on like codec avatars and stuff, they've made pretty incredible progress. But to me, it's like, just that question of like, the killer app is teleportation, basically. Like, can I teleport my friends and family to be hanging out with me, or even coworkers? Yeah, like there's a certain threshold that needs to be crossed there, because if it's super shitty, or if it's like kind of too like out there, like VR chat, which is actually pretty sweet, but there's like, I couldn't like have my grandma in there, and so I think like that to me is going to be the killer thing, and I think it's kind of interesting, like the avatars that Apple makes are pretty, like, they're pretty bad, like they're like,
right
bad,
in the uncanny valley, right?
but it's the worst that they're going to be, so like I'm like, okay, you know what, it can only get better from there. And so I was also surprised they actually like ship with that, because like that's like, they clearly didn't make it through that value, and they're like, screw it, we'll just ship it now, and then like we'll keep going. So once that gets
crawl out of the valley for version 2.
Yeah, like, once they get out of the valley, like that'll be fascinating, because then it'll just be like,
Although I think it is better than legless people.
Totally.
Well, they are. I mean, to be fair to Zuckerberg, they are legless, because you only see your face, really. So you're just like a window. So
that's also why I think they do the windows, right? To constrain it, right? It's weird. Yeah.
So one of the things that I've not figured out is, the avatar can reproduce your facial expressions, right? When you're smiling, etc. And which cameras are actually doing that, right?
We've had several questions about that today. Does anybody care to speculate on how the facial expressions are being capped and estimated and whatnot?
I think it is multiple cameras. I think so. Unfortunately, the developers, as far as I know, they cannot access the cameras, right? So you cannot get the video feed from any of the cameras, and that is because of privacy reasons. I mean, you can imagine why. But my guess is that, okay, the inside eyes, right? The eye tracking they are already doing, and they also see part of the eye, right? Outside. So any blinking, etc., that is easy, right? It's the inside IR eye tracking cameras, they are doing it. But there are also downward facing cameras which are looking at your hands, but they are also looking at part of your face. And I think that that is also measuring, whether you're smiling or not. What I don't know is that what about the eyebrow? When you raise the eyebrows, the avatar raises the eyebrow, right?
Yeah.
How is that happening? Is it just the IMUs and because this thing is attached to your face, and when you do this, it will move on the face, and that they can detect as an eyebrow raise. But I don't know 100% how they are doing it.
I mean, IMU might be tricky with that, but it might be the case that like those cameras there's those 4 cameras for your eyes they might be picking up enough. Because I mean, really, it's just like it might be a situation where they're probably feeding this into a you basically have like a limited observation of like a bigger system, and so it's like, or a bigger set of things. So you're like they do like that initial training process, and so they're like fitting a model. They're probably like whatever points they're tracking inside the eyes here, they might be trying to like estimate that, and then like it's sort of like, okay, here's like the sparse inputs we have. Now let's use those to like estimate the ground truth. And the ground truth is what they do on that face scan. And it's at least constrained to like the human face. It's not like arbitrary, like space of optimization. So
I like Vikas's speculation on
emotions.
This. Oh, so go for it.
Go ahead, Will.
I was going to say, I think your speculation is right, because the hardest expression to do is the eyebrow raise. You really have to be intentional about it. But I think part of that is just because you have a brick on your face too, you know what I mean? But I think the inside cameras probably see enough. I also found it interesting. People were talking about the emo paper and a lot of ML in the onboarding for the scan. Like they make you smile, right? But they don't scan your tongue, right? So it's weird to have somebody else's tongue, like sort of some amalgamation of like their training data in your mouth.
It's deeply violating. Like that's not my tongue.
I'm gonna start a rumor here. It's actually Tim Cook's tongue.
Oh, good Lord. Okay, that's not an image I want to have in my head for the rest of the day. But I will say, it's like they only make you do a couple scans, right? Like, so they got 52 blend shapes if it's anything like ARKit, but they make you do just a few expressions and then they extrapolate the rest. Maybe they just want that avatar to be there. But I would rather do a couple more captures to get a slightly better experience. But again, like, I don't know, maybe they'll do some crazy federated learning things, like all the faces are, you train the model on your device, but they still figure out some way to improve their global model. Not to mention, I hear they've got a light stage too, like every other company. So they're probably capturing a bunch of interesting training data for all sorts of diverse people in there.
Speaking of go ahead, Stu.
One observation that I had with a lot of people is the first time you start using Vision Pro, you're just blown away, right? It's like, oh, wow, they can do this. This is happening. That is happening. And after, let's say, 20 minutes or so, you are so used to this amazing thing. Now you're just looking at the problems. Oh, the pass-through is a little bit noisy and this and that. So it's amazing how quickly we adapt to new technology and expectations, right?
Yeah.
That
it becomes mundane so quickly.
It's amazing.
It's with everything, right? It's like I saw the Sora OpenAI Sora videos, and I'm like, oh my God, the world has changed. And then like the next Monday, I'm like, whatever. What's the next thing coming out? So the hedonic treadmill of awesomeness is just like, it's real.
One quick question: Has anybody seen? So we're talking about like emotion and face recognition. Has anybody cried in one of these headsets yet? And will that mess stuff up?
Ooh, tears down the face. I think it'll. I think it'll hit the light seal. I guess. Yeah.
No tearjerker movies.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like you're cutting out a significant part of human. And again, talking about you want to visit your 1.5-year-old, that's coming.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. The one thing I was actually curious about is like, did you guys see the there's the I guess the Lake Washington or Lake Union. What's the lake? Lake Washington. And there's also the Joshua Tree.
Mount Hood, Mount
Hood, and then the Joshua Tree one. What's interesting is like I was trying to figure out how much of that was like was it something like a Gaussian splat that's being rendered, or is it just like straight up like photogrammetry? And then I noticed that there was like they have certain in the Joshua Tree one, it was like a bush that was relatively far away. Like everything was static in that scene except for this bush that was like kind of blowing in the wind a little bit. And then in the Mount Hood one, it was like it's just the lake basically, and then I think that's the only like dynamic thing, right? But I'm curious what their I'm actually kind of curious. Did they do a photogrammetry scan and just have somebody like hand kind of craft that experience in Unity or something, or did they how are they rendering that? Like yeah, it's interesting because I know that they're working on various aspects of things like Gaussian splatting, too. So yeah, I'm just curious how they, or if anyone has any insights on how they did that, or
Are you talking about the environments, or is it something?
Yeah, like the environments, like when you you turn the dial and you can pick one of those. Yeah,
Right.
It felt very photo scanny to me with like manual like labor and love. Like in the Hawaii one, it's like it felt very like photogrammetry scan. Then it like blends seamlessly into a 360 pan out the horizon. But they've got the fog slightly moving, some particle effects like you alluded to the lake and the water. And it's funny. Like speaking of Slam, Matt from 60 AI, his new company.
Oh yeah.
All their or Deja Vu. That's all they're doing. Their whole thing is we're gonna make Vision Pro environments with this sort of approach. But yeah, it felt very photogrammetry to me, and haven't really shown anything. I saw a bunch of their patents that had some sort of like point cloud streaming that felt like, if you read between the lines, is like, wait, could this be Gaussian splatting or something like that? But thus far. Also, I didn't like that there are two environments that are like coming soon. I'm like, wait, this is like a giveaway. This is like, why is this saying coming soon? So funny.
Yeah, I was surprised. Why? I've never seen. I don't think I've ever seen Apple do a coming soon. Like
they just needed enough tiles in the window, I think, for symmetry or something. You're like, well, let's just put two.
Yeah. I guarantee Steve Jobs would have fired somebody for that one.
Oh God, there would have been headsets getting chucked out the window, desks getting flipped over.
You're like, why are you ruining our beautiful experience?
You're literally killing me. We're coming up on 20 minutes past the hour. I think probably now is a good time to sort of put a bow on this, and we'll do final thoughts from everybody here. Well, let's start with Bilal. Final. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to run one application that I thought maybe it is possible. I have not done the math yet, and the application. So I have prescription lenses. And I had to go get contacts, and they are painful. I'm not going to wear the contacts. I'm going to get. Apple has this, these lenses that you can buy, $200, but I'll probably buy the bullet. But what I was thinking about is that, I don't have any problem watching movies and other things without my glasses on. It's perfect, especially because I can bring the movie closer to me and I can put the screen anywhere I want. And it makes it much easier to watch. But when I'm working on my computer, then it becomes, I really need my glasses, right? When my computer screen is displayed on the Apple Vision Pro. But what I also thought that maybe, and I'm not 100% sure whether this idea is even feasible, is can you, let's say you input your prescription in an app, right? You say that this is my prescription. The screen is at a particular distance from my eyes, right? A virtual distance from my eyes. Can I actually manipulate the pixels on the screen so that when it goes into my eyes, right, it's
pre-correcting for your vision. I mean,
so it is rendering something wrong so that my eyes will, distort them so that I see a crisp. And it could be possible because it is at a particular depth, right? I'm not saying that I need perfect vision for all depths, right? Which is I don't think it is possible. But is it possible to have perfect vision for a particular depth, right? And that would have saved me $200. Maybe somebody would buy a $20 app because that's a pretty big use case, right? Using your own computer. I mean, I've used Apple Vision Pro in that mode for 2 hours at a stretch, and it's a reasonable experience. And
the prescription lenses thing actually have some constraints as well. Cable Sasser from legendary Mac Apple software developer Panic recently had a bit of like an odyssey trying to get, so his prescription was too strong, and you have to have a valid prescription to get the lenses, and so basically he had to go to his optometrist and get them to fudge his prescription so it would fit within the parameters, so his vision would be a little bit better, right? It was an interesting story.
Right.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, maybe if you, yeah, it's interesting because you have a constrained distance of the screen from your eye.
Yeah.
It's like relatively fixed, so you can't like change that. And like usually, like a lens is like changing. Yeah, it's like like refocusing that. So, but maybe, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I need
I mean,
to think
this
about it
kind
more.
of ideas, they are used in, even in VLSI CAD design for manufacturing. There's this field where they know what happens is that when they what they want to etch on the silicon, they don't actually, the mask is not the same as what they want to etch because,
Oh yeah.
of light interaction,
Yeah.
diffraction or whatever it is. I actually don't know the right terms.
Yeah.
It is not the exact thing, right? So they change the mask so that the rendering on the etching is right.
Interesting.
So this
Huh.
kind of idea is not new, but I have not done the math to know whether I'm just talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's do some final thoughts here. I think let's start with Bilal. Final thoughts on the current state of Apple Vision Pro. What are you excited about for the near term and the long term on this device? And what do you think are the sort of the stickiest points that we see today?
Yeah, I think it's an exciting time for spatial computing. I've always been partial to that term, by the way. Even XR just never did it for me because it requires too much explanation to people. Wait, what's the X? Oh, it's AR/VR. What's AR/VR? It's like, oh, spatial computing. I think the Apple marketing machine infusing a bunch of interest into this is amazing. I think Quest 3 is going to have sell a record number of units. Their next headset is going to keep doing that. So a rising tide lifts all boats. And particularly, there's this whole class of iOS users that would have never contemplated getting a headset, right? They would have never bothered getting into immersive that are getting into this now. And Apple's going to be in this for the long run. We've got the Roadster today. Maybe not even the Roadster. Maybe it is the Roadster because Tesla has a knack of launching unfinished products and then doing some fun, recalls after the fact. But the Model 3 will be there in the future. So I'm super excited right now just to use this as like a portable media consumption device, a video conferencing device, and a second screen experience, especially when I'm traveling. And then in the long run, I'm super excited about the social experiences that we talked about. The fact that we can be co-present, embodied in virtual worlds together. I think it's going to open a whole new class of experiences. Hopefully we'll start seeing stuff that is cross-platform between the Quest 3 and the Apple Vision Pro. And I'm also finally very, very excited about immersive video. I mean, I was super bullish on it, in the early days of VR when everyone felt like passive media consumption was the killer use case. But now we have a reason for Canon obviously has their 180 lens that'll project two nice, this crazy periscopic lens that'll put your two spherical fisheyes on one 8K sensor. I suspect we'll start seeing more point and shoot variants. Maybe the future iPhone will get better. So immersive forms of capture, certainly the static stuff we talked about with splatting, but to the Costas point, the dynamic stuff I think is going to get very exciting. So capture those memories and you'll want to relive them in the future. So super excited about those things in the near and long term.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And where can folks follow you, Bilal, on the internet, on Alcore's internet? Where can they find you?
On Alcore's internet. Oh man, so I put in my link tree or beacons. Check it out. Twitter, if you're into this type of conversation. I have a newsletter. I've got YouTube, TikTok, all of the above. But yeah, Twitter, LinkedIn, if you want to continue conversations like this. You may also enjoy my newsletter called the Creative Tech Digest. And just drop the link in the chat.
Awesome. Yes, subscribe. And let's hope that this is more of a Model 3 and less of a boring company. Vikas, final thoughts on the Apple Vision Pro. What do you think about where it is today? What are you excited about for the future in the short and near term? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think one of the most interesting things is that this is sort of I definitely, like Bilawal, I don't see this as like this some kind of like end destination. It's kind of the start. It's like the restarting gun of like, okay, now we're like going to do this for real. And I think Zuckerberg and Meta deserve a lot of credit for they kind of carried that torch for a long time. And now there's like this opening shot from Apple, and I think one thing that's exciting is I think that competition is actually going to drive some much more rapid like innovation. Like there's going to be this back and forth between and Zuckerberg's still a young, like relatively young founder running his own company, and like has all the ability to execute. I definitely wouldn't count him out. And then Apple obviously has like tons of advantages in the hardware space, hardware design, like even some of the software side. So that's super exciting. So I feel like we're hopefully not going to go back into like it's not going to drop into like VR winter, or like spatial computing winter in a sense. And so that's one thing. And then yeah, I think to me, I'm just super excited about this future where this like distance is no longer like we have teleportation. Like that is like going to happen at some point, and it's going to open up a lot of more I'm hoping it makes it go from a, hey, we're just like chatting or like commenting on Instagram and like these like texting and stuff, to like it solves some of the there's this issue where people are hanging out less in person, and the things that are replacing them aren't really truly like hanging out in any real sense of the word. And so to me, one of the exciting things about spatial computing in this like new wave is it has the hope of like of bridging that gap potentially, where people across distances can actually hang out and interact. And so that'll be super exciting. I think it'll have secondary effects on even things like does remote work all of a sudden become more efficient now, because you're actually like you're able to work remotely, but you get a lot of benefits of like being in the office too. So that's like what I'm most excited about. And then yeah, I think like on the memory, like reliving memory side for sure too. It's like there's like yeah, Wist is a good example. They're working on stuff. Obviously Apple is too, but it's going to go for where you can actually truly capture like either a memory or a place in time and re-experience that in like in a way where you actually feel like you're there. And so it's gonna go from where it is now, where it's a static, maybe like 2D screen, 2.5D kind of experience, to you're fully immersed in a memory. It's like the what's the thing from Harry Potter, the thing where they like go into the memory or whatever. It'll be like that.
I was thinking more like the holodeck.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to be
Yes.
Dixon Hill. I want to be going
Yeah.
around 1940 San Francisco as a hard-boiled
Yeah.
detective. Vikas, where can people find you
yeah.
online if they want to track you down and argue with you about what you said here today?
Plenty of places, but yeah, you could go to, I mean, for my company, LightTwist.com, I'm Vikas, I'll type it in, yeah, Vikas at LightTwist.com if there's anything you want to chat about there. And then I'm on Twitter at Vikas Reddy, and then LinkedIn. Yeah, I think my LinkedIn post is higher, but yeah, those are the things I'm like probably most active on. And then yeah, for LightTwist, we have a YouTube channel as well, so subscribe there. You'll see Phil's pretty face.
That's right. I am beautiful. Satya, final thoughts on Apple Vision Pro. What are you excited about in the future? What do you think the stickiest points are today, and where do you see it overall?
Well, first of all, I'm super excited about all these vision algorithms actually working right in the real world. Like even the eye tracking, for example, you can look at the screen, click with, focus on something, and it knows where you're looking at, and then you can click. That itself, there were other devices available, but this is a consumer device for everybody, right? So it is quite remarkable how good that eye tracking works, and all the other vision features also, they work remarkably. I mean, I was blown away with most of the things that they do, right? Hand tracking, eye tracking, the actual device tracking. So this is all great, but the price is just, you cannot have a shared experience until the price comes down to, let's say, $1,000 or so, right? So I'm so excited about things, but I cannot even show it to my friends, right? Most of them did not buy an Apple Vision Pro, right? Unless I invited them to a webinar and forced them.
It's true. Finally cracked.
That's right.
Right. But I'm also very excited about things that we are not thinking about as technologists. Like I saw a YouTube video of a painter who uses this. Just imagine, right? When you go inside a house, you want to do an estimate of the paint job, right? How much is it going to cost? They want to measure the square foot of the walls they are going to paint. Now you wear this thing, and there is some app that you just look around, okay, these walls, and this is how much the estimate would be, right? So that kind of application, because this painter also measured on, let's say, about 18 feet when he was measuring things, the distance was, just off by 1 inch or so, right? So you can get a very good paint job estimate based on those numbers. And those are the kinds of applications I'm really excited about, where they will surprise us, not because they are built by, for non-technologists, right? They are not really, they are built for consumers using it in a variety of ways that we can barely comprehend right now, right? And of course, I'm very excited about these panoramic 3D videos where you can really feel you're in this immersive environment. That kind of video content, that kind of content in general, would be very interesting. So
Yeah,
those are
much like driving down the highway, I think the most exciting stuff in spatial computing is the stuff you don't see coming. The things that a year from now, there'll be a couple of apps out there that people are just going to be like, why didn't I think of that? And that's when the magic starts to happen. Satya, where can
And
people
also
find you on
accessories, right?
Al Gore's internet?
One other thing about accessories also, I don't know whether it is possible, but let's say, I saw this a movie called Gran Turismo, where he's able to, there's a person who is able to ride Formula One cars, or not Formula One, some car
NASCAR or
based on
something.
NASCAR, based on the simulator, right? And let's say you have physical accessories that go with Apple Vision Pro, the display is there, right? And you have some physical accessory that converts this, and then you can have this virtual experience that is for training and for entertainment, etc. That could be
Have you seen the F-35 heads-up display where you can see through the cockpit? I think that should be an app for
Pretty
Tesla,
amazing.
right? There's already clowns driving with the Vision Pro on. It's like, how cool would it be to pass through all the RGB cameras and kind of see? So much fun stuff. Yeah.
So a lot of interesting things I'm excited about.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Where can people find Dr. Satya Malik on Al Gore's internet?
On on X, you can, or formerly called Twitter. You can
Nobody
find
calls
me
it X.
Everybody still calls it Twitter.
at Learn OpenCV, and on LinkedIn, if you search for Satya Malik, you'll find me.
Excellent. As always, this has been OpenCV Live. Our guest next week will be the grand prize winning team of OpenCV AI Competition 2023, Team Barolo, with their Frisia project. Really looking forward to that. We'll have Gianluca and Gianpaolo and a couple other team members back. They've been on the show before. We always have a good time with them. As for me personally, I want to punch a dinosaur, and I'm furious that this was not a launch application. Why can I not fist fight a dinosaur? I just do better, Apple. Do better.
Yeah.
Take care of yourselves out there, folks. Take care of somebody else if you can, and have a great day wherever you may be.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Cool.
Thanks, Willis.